What's good, family? Shout out to my doggy Keefy G for sending in them much needed coins and boosting up your man the YB's £100,000 yearly salary. No doubt. So we got some breaking news right now. Your man's Anthony Zest Johnston allegedly is striking out at the YB's tirade of videos airing him out for being super duper zesty. Yeah, he's clapping back, allegedly. He claims he doesn't need, in a conversation, in a now leaked conversation with Eddie Hearn, with Eddie Down Bad Hearn, he claims he doesn't need a trainer to beat Alexander Usyk. These are the exact quotes from the leaked wiretap. Yeah? Eddie Hearn says the following on the phone. Again, it's the Usyk fight, and that's the fight that AJ wanted. He will make changes to his training team. But when I sat down with Anthony Johnston last Monday to talk about the step aside, AJ told me, I'll beat Usyk. I then said to him, but you haven't yet started working with your new trainer. AJ replied to them comments, I will beat Usyk without a trainer. Boom, there's the comments. Eddie Hearn goes on to say that AJ is pumped for the fight, even though it's a really tough fight. So listen. Those are the quotes there, allegedly, from Eddie Hearn. Now, I can't lie to you. I have to stress the alleged, because I think Eddie, I can't lie, for a long time, I gave Eddie Hearn a lot of credit for being the truth teller, but the more things go on, I'm not saying, I think everyone tells porcupines. I'm not saying is some people go way too far the other way. Some people will tell you that Frank Warren never lies. I think most people lie. You understand? I think Frank Warren lies. I think Eddie Hearn lies. It just so happens, when you're on the up here, when you're cruising in the clouds, things like Eddie Hearn, for years Eddie Hearn was in the clouds. He just kept going up and up and up. But recently, he what we call fell off. He down bad and fell off for sure. He falling off right now. In fact, I tell a lie, he hasn't fell off, he falling off. There's no doubt about that. He falling off. And when you're falling off, when you're transitioning through down badness, these little things start to present themselves. But not only present themselves, each little nick is a lot more noticeable, if you get what I'm saying. For example, for years Eddie Hearn has said things like, oh, I spoke to AJ on the phone. But it was much less relevant then. Why? Well, AJ was winning and Eddie Hearn had a big, plentiful stable of other fighters who were also winning. Do you know what I'm saying? So within the context of, or within the wider context of Eddie Hearn's life over the last few years, into really, I'd call it the last year, but them 4 or 5 years from 2015 through to 2020, Eddie Hearn was always gassing about his conversations on the phone with AJ. And most people let it slide, didn't think too much of it. But now, these things are coming into question. For example, again with AJ. How Eddie Hearn, oh, I was on the phone with AJ. He told me he don't want step aside. And then in the next breath, Eddie Hearn saying, well, the reason the fight didn't happen was because we went back to Tyson Fury and told him we want 5 mil more because Fury wants a warm-up fight. Wait a minute. You just said AJ told you on the phone he don't want the fight, and then you tell us that, oh, well, actually, we went back to Fury and asked for 5 million more because he wanted to add a warm-up fight before the Usyk fight. So again, I think Eddie Hearn just makes things up, and I think he assumes, well, as long as I'm saying something that's beneficial or that sounds good to my client, i.e. AJ, then that's fine. And I think the more, I'm not saying every single conversation he reports on is a lie, but over the years it never really made sense. Every single, I spoke to AJ the other day and he said this, apples and pears. And the more I think about it, I think he does the apple and pears salesman. That's what I think he does. He sells. And Eddie Hearn knows what sells right now. Again, talking about the step aside thing. Eddie Hearn knows the narrative that sells is that AJ is rock hard for the Usyk fight. Eddie Hearn doesn't want to be honest and tell the people, listen people, truth is, AJ is scared to death of his own shadow. He's been scared to death of his own shadow. And he's shook to death of Usyk. And we were desperate for step aside. And we got greedy and got punked by Tyson Fury. Because when you actually look at the evidence is, yeah, Team AJ were desperate for step aside. And when, I don't doubt, yeah, that Tyson Fury requested a warm-up fight before the Usyk fight. I don't doubt that. But what happened is, when you actually follow the data points here, what do we know? Well, Tyson Fury came out at the end of the breakdown. When it all broke down and step aside failed, Tyson Fury came out and said greed. Now, the only way I've been able to work out how all the pieces come together is that Tyson Fury said greed because Team AJ requested $5 million extra to give Tyson Fury another fight, a warm-up fight. Do you get what I'm saying? So, Eddie Hearn saying, oh, the reason it fell through was because Tyson Fury's scared. No, that doesn't make sense. Tyson Fury being scared of Usyk doesn't make sense. He was prepared to fight Usyk. He just wanted a warm-up fight. That's not the same as being scared, is it? Being scared would be begging someone after you've been beaten to handle your rematch for you. That's scared. Scared isn't, yeah, I'll fight Usyk, but I want a warm-up fight in between. That's not scared. Because that's agreeing to doing the fight. Oops. Yeah. And again, I've said for the longest time. If Fury has no obligations towards Usyk, so the whole narrative of Fury being scared of Usyk makes no sense. Fury never had to come along and even suggest step aside. Yeah? So if Fury was so scared of Usyk, why would he could just say no. He could have been said 6 months ago, no, I want Dillian, because I'm scared of Usyk, essentially. Do you know what I'm saying? He could have done that. It doesn't make no sense. Fury could have nipped it in the bud 6 months ago. It's not happening. Don't want nothing to do with Usyk. And obviously, he wouldn't have come out blatantly and said that in a statement. But he could have done that. His actions. You know what I'm like. I follow actions. I don't listen to woof. Actions, actions, actions. And Fury's action showed he was as open for the Usyk fight as he was the Chilean White fight. However, it got to the point where Team AJ overplayed their hand. And I know Team AJ overplayed their hand, because guess what? Eddie Hearn came out when it all fell through, yeah? Eddie Hearn came out on an interview and started saying, oh, but you know, sometimes these things are never really over. He was desperate. Eddie, oh, I'm telling you now, I felt bad for Eddie. When it all fell through and Tyson Fury finally said, listen, we ain't doing it. I'm not paying you no more money. You got greedy. You overplayed your hand. And when Eddie Hearn realised, and when Team AJ realised they'd overplayed their hand, Eddie Hearn was, oh, well, no, maybe sometimes this is when a deal can happen. Sometimes in the last moments before the purse bid, this is when a magical deal can happen, and you know, anything can happen. It's bad for Eddie. He was desperate. He's super duper desperate, and that's when it turned into viciousness. That's when he finally realised that Tyson Fury weren't going to bail him and his big bodybuilder out. That's when Eddie Hearn turned vicious. Oh well, if you're not going to fight the middleweight for us, that must mean you're scared. And ever since then, Eddie Hearn's been banging on the drum of, oh, Tyson Fury is scared. Wait there, Tyson Fury is scared of the man that you're scared to fight. That's mad. Tyson Fury is scared of handling the work you should be handling anyway. Imagine trying to change the narrative. Although, to be fair to Eddie Hearn, that is his job. His job is to change every narrative into benefiting his fighter. So it's no shock that Eddie Hearn is not sitting here telling us, well, wait there a minute. Because if it was me, yeah, I wouldn't be able to call anyone scared of fighting Usyk. Because I'd be way too conscious of how it looks given our situation. No one but you, Eddie, and AJ have a contractual obligation and a moral obligation to handle and fight Alexander Usyk. You're the only one. So wait there, the man who is the only one who has a contractual obligation to fight Usyk and a moral obligation after getting your ass whooped to fight Usyk, you was the only one who was negotiating not to fulfill that. Tyson Fury wasn't obligated anyway to fight Usyk. You was. But yet you was the one negotiating and asking for money to not fight, to not handle your moral and contractual obligations. Oops. But yet Fury, the one that's scared. It don't make no sense. And this links back to the original point here of AJ allegedly saying he'll fight Usyk without a trainer. AJ don't want to fight Usyk at all. Yeah, AJ don't want to fight Usyk with 10 trainers. As we know, he's got 10 trainers. We know AJ got 10 trainers. So please forgive me if I'm struggling to believe. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of AJ fans right now who are big mad. Oh, YB, you know, you're so pessimistic. Why can't you just listen to this hit piece from Eddie Hearn and believe that AJ is rock hard for Usyk? I wish AJ really did believe this and say this. And I believe if I was in the camp, these would be the kind of things we'd be saying. These would be the kind of principles of the camp. Yeah? AJ versus Usyk rematch camp. One of the key principles would be, I want to build AJ to be so strong. He should be feeling like that. You should feel you can pop anyone's cherry. And I've been the one saying it for the longest time. I've been the one saying that AJ, in this current crop of heavyweights, which in my opinion is very weak, you should feel you can pop any one of their cherries at any given point in time, with or without a camp. That's how you should be feeling. But is this quote real? I don't believe so. I believe Eddie has been doing what he's always been doing. However, now, because of the circumstances, he's no longer on top and he's no longer dominating, or AJ isn't. These throwaway comments, which before would just be accepted, well, it makes sense. AJ's winning and whatever else. When someone starts losing and things aren't working out, that's when the scrutiny comes. And unfortunately, these comments don't hold up to scrutiny. And in a way, it's quite sad for Eddie, even more so, because I believe even Eddie wishes AJ was saying this. Do you understand? I think Eddie is trying to transpose some viciousness in there for AJ. I think Eddie's literally having to use his optimistic imagination and transposing it into reality. Oh, AJ, I wish AJ could say this. And then he repeats it. Yeah? It's super duper sad for Eddie right now, having to go away and cook up little conversations that never happened. Eddie, let me tell you this, Eddie. No one ever sat you there. AJ didn't sit you down and tell you he don't need a trainer. We know he didn't say that. That's why he's been flying around to 20 different trainers, begging to find a 20-second trainer to add to the team, because he wants to add. Yeah. Let's get it straight here. AJ couldn't get it done with 5 trainers in his corner. What makes you think he's going to get done with none? In fact, AJ couldn't get it done with 5 trainers in his corner and some sharp advice from the security guard in the ring. he took some last minute. Wait there. You had 4 trainers in the corner and the bodyguard. You got some quick advice from Clifton Mitchell, the bodyguard. It's mad, yeah? You couldn't get it done with 4 trainers and the bodyguard. And you want us to believe you're going to get it done with no advice. Yeah? AJ, your whole setup is jitty. Yeah? Jitty. You're a jitty looking ass dude, you're nervous. Super duper nervous. And it's a shame that, I mean, Eddie, at night, when you're on your own, sit there and think to yourself, how have we got to this position? How have we fell so far that I'm having to sit here and imagine what an aggressive on-top fighter would say? Because you are right, you're not far wrong. That's what he should be saying. But again, Eddie, ask yourself, why isn't AJ saying these things? Why is he so moist looking? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because I'll tell you what you ain't done. You ain't come into the YB's DMs. That's what you ain't. You haven't humbled yourself. That's the problem, you see. You're too busy trying to play all these games, trying to fly in Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia, useless. How did Robert Garcia work out with his... I mean, he lost against Josh Taylor. His younger brother got smoked. He can't even motivate his younger brother. He can't even motivate Brandon Rios. And you want to bring Johnson in there? That's the worst look. Oops. You need what you need. In fact, scrap what you need. The bottom line is, he ain't saying this. And that's what the problem is. And someone needs to take responsibility. Someone needs to... Because 258 management, they're not even a real management team. They're just zesties. They're just bandwagon riders. They're just riding the bandwagon. No one's actually literally managing AJ's career. There's everyone's good at their own thing. Athletes are supposed to be good at athleting. There's a reason management teams and promoters exist. They're supposed to take the managerial position and run with it. Manage the career. I don't know what's happened. It's almost like ever since 2020, or ever since the social media age came, and I'll call it the age of the bag. Ever since the age of the bag, just because athletes make a lot of money, yeah, all of a sudden people start thinking that they're really good at everything. Do you understand? Just because you're good at boxing or you're good at running track doesn't mean you're going to be good at making strategic decisions in life, i.e. who should train you, or this, you know what I'm saying? So, oh well, he makes money, so Eddie Hearn, I mean, in a way, Eddie Hearn's made this problem himself. Oh well, I work for the fighters, and I'm working for you, and why are we giving them all this responsibility as if they've earned it? All AJ's earned is going in there and knocking out old people. That don't give you a right to know everything in the universe, or even everything in the sport, for that matter. As AJ's sloppy skills and sloppy team coaching decision making is proven. Like, people criticise the old model where the promoter and the manager have more power, and I'm not saying it should be like Don King where people get RAPE'd, but still there has to be some balance. I believe there are advantages to key playmakers being in the industry who can, over time, can collect knowledge and information. People like Eddie Hearn, not necessarily Eddie Hearn, he's not really an old time, but I believe there's old time cats here who have spent a lot of time around the sport, have seen different trainers, have seen different relationships between the trainers and the fighters. I believe that can be a valuable asset. I believe someone like AJ could have done with a real manager around him. Someone, again, his 258 management team's no good. They're brand new. They'd never been around boxing a day. Genuinely. 258 got into boxing with AJ. Brand spanking new. And in fact, I'm pretty sure the company was a brand new company as well. 258 management is only known for AJ. Oops. It don't even have management experience in music. They have no experience whatsoever. Never mind boxing. And I'm saying I believe there's a value to essentially having a manager. More so than just being a yes man. Today, promoters, managers, they're all yes men. They're all side men. The fighters have full control of everything. Is that good? I don't believe so. That's why your man Johnston's sitting where he is now. Completely washed and finished. No discipline, no whatever else. Yamato was a great trainer and a great manager. He saw both sides. He was able to combine both. And look at how disciplined Mike Tyson was under Cuss. Totally disciplined, totally ferocious. You need that, I believe. You didn't see Yamato walking around saying, "Oh, I work for Mike," and the last thing these fighters need right now is more gassing about how special they are and how they run things. I believe that's the last thing they need. They need some hardcore discipline, is what they need. Yeah. Like Mike had discipline. Under Cuss. Show me any of these old time cats, Manny Stewart or whatever, or Angelo Dundee talking about, "Oh, yeah, I work for him and I'm just grateful to work for this guy, and anything you say goes, boss, and yes, boss, 2 bags full, boss." And I'm not saying financially they should take 90% of the cut still. I'm saying in terms of the decision making, there is value to people with a lot of experience making key decisions. Someone should be able to tell Johnston, listen, I've been around the sport 30 years, and I've seen this, I've seen that, and this is what you need right now. I'll tell you what you don't need. Rob McCrappen, who's useless, who hasn't got a proven record of anything, apart from training bums with no skills, like Carl Froch. Carl Froch ran a bum, but he wasn't skilled. Bottom line, he wasn't. He had great innate ability. That was it. Skills, none, in my opinion. Fernando Alonso, another one. Who? Imagine that. Do you think anyone in the boxing game would advise, who at the time was one of the greatest prospects Britain's ever seen in AJ, one of the greatest prospects Britain's ever seen, and his big answer for replacing Rob McCrappen is Fernando Alonso, a man who's never trained anyone. What are we doing here? And that shows you when I explain about how AJ's low IQ. And this is why it's dangerous to give athletes... AJ's a crash dummy. Yeah? AJ's good at getting punched in the head and punching people. He's good at hitting things and being hit. That's it. But yet... Oh, but YB... How can you talk about anything? You're broken in the basement on YouTube, and AJ's made $40 million. Yeah, but he's made $40 million being a crash dummy. It doesn't mean, he knows what he's doing, or he doesn't mean he makes the best decisions in everything. And it's shown. Because yeah, he's made millions, but he could have made billions, I believe. He could have gone down as the biggest ever fighter ever. Instead, he's going to be known as the biggest hype job. That's where he's going right now. Fast as well. Super fast. In 3 months' time, he'll be known as the biggest hype job when he gets filled in by Usyk. Because he thought he was too... AJ thought he was too smart. He didn't know what he didn't know, and he backed his horse with a bunch of bum trainers. I've never seen anything like it. Everyone else, all the other greats, like Lennox Lewis, everyone else was pointing up. Everyone else was looking to add knowledge and experience. AJ, he goes with people who have no experience and no knowledge. Fernando Alonso's never trained no champions. Full stop. Or even prospects. He's trained no one. It's wild. How do you get the best prospects in the last 50 years in Britain going with a trainer who ain't got no resume? Where are they doing that at? And AJ on his Snapchat posting things like, oh man, we hustle, and all you need is hustle to work with me. All you need is hustle to work with you. Oh, it shows. Because that's all they've got. They ain't got no experience. They ain't got no technique. And that's why you're getting worked. Because look at Usyk. Usyk is a great example. Usyk has gone from trainer to trainer, but top level trainers. He's been with James Ali Bashir, who trained under Manny Stewart. He's been with Lomachenko's dad, who we know is a proven skills don. That's smart in my mind. Spending years at a time with the top names in the game. What top names has AJ been with? Okay, he's been with Rob McCrappen to some random dude out of some random London gym. Where are they doing that at? And people are mad at me saying how smart YB. AJ's so smart. He's made so much money. He's not going to make it anymore after he get filled in. Oops. I've digressed, but listen. The bottom line is Eddie. If you spent more time trying to be a proper managerial cat and less time making up quotes about things that you wish he said, we wouldn't be here today. And that's a fact. You spent way too much time just trying to put... I guess, in a way, I could say Eddie Hearn spent way too much time promoting. And I guess that is his job. But I believe to be a great promoter, you have to really first be a great manager. If all you focus on is making a pile of shite look good, you still got a pile of shite. And at some point, the veil's going to be unveiled. That's why you've got to you've essentially, as a promoter, you've still got to do whatever you can to get the best piece of shite. Do you understand? So you don't want to... Eddie Hearn just focuses on, well, whatever, no matter what I've got, I'm not going to try and get the best out of what I've got. I'm just going to push the crap I've got. You got people like Dave Allen. Again, another one. Eddie Hearn just pushed it. Didn't really put no... I'm not saying it's his job to, but the quality of it. There was no investment in the quality of Dave Allen. Even though he's lazy, it's not a good example. But do you know what I'm saying? Take time to focus on the quality of it. Especially, yes, forget Dave Allen, but I'm talking about with AJ. Eddie Hearn should have been way more active, I believe. All we've heard from Eddie Hearn has been, well, AJ makes his own decisions. I work for him, and yeah, he's a smart man. He's not though. Oop, he's not. Who told you that? Who told you AJ was smart? I don't get that. What? Why in society today The minute you make a bag, all of a sudden you're really smart. Even though you made a bag by hitting things. Oh, YB, what? How can your opinion be worth anything? AJ's worth $30 million. Yeah, he's worth $30 million by hitting things. That makes you a caveman. That doesn't mean you're some next intellectual thinker. And he's way more successful than me. I'd never dispute that, but how's it working out? Yeah? What happens when a caveman tries to make decisions for himself? Oops. You end up where you are, where he is now. Getting moshed by... Now, because the caveman was left to make decisions by himself, now the caveman can't even do the cavemaning right. Oops, again. Do you understand? That's what happens, you see. You take a caveman, let him make his own decisions, and now he can't even do the caveman-manning part right, because he's getting filled in by some next dude half his size. That shows you how necessary it is. And I remember watching a video, Don King would pick his fighters, or would work with his fighters. Don King would work with his fighters and work with his long... Yeah, would work with his long logbook of trainers and long logbook of knowledge. And he'd actually matchmake not only the fights, but matchmake the trainers with the fighters. Now, I'm not saying that's a perfect way, but at least, I don't know, that makes more sense than this current model of just assuming. I mean, look at Ben Davidson. Who advised Josh Taylor to go with Ben Davidson? I'm sorry. Who doing that? Ben Davidson's a bum. I mean, look at Tyson Fury. Even Tyson Fury to an extent. Who advised Tyson Fury to go with Ben Davidson? Who did that? We saw what happened. He nearly got knocked out. If Tyson Fury had to stick with Ben Davidson, he'd have been knocked out. But that was a bad decision. Who did that? Again, fighters left to their own devices. Tyson Fury was much sharper under Peter Fury. Now, obviously, for whatever reason, the relationship broke down, but still, this shows you how pivotal things can be. Tyson Fury went from nearly knocked out by Wilder to dominating Wilder. And that really, the only change was the trainer. That's actually what happened. Literally. The change in trainer was the difference between going from knocked out to knocking someone out. It's a perfect case study of how important the right trainer and making the right strategic decision making is. And you still got AJ out there in the world. You still got today Eddie Hearn speaks on it. Oh, AJ's making his choice and he's out there, he's deciding what's best for him. You've already seen how that's worked out for him. All them years I was telling AJ, you need to leave Rob. What did people tell me? What did Eddie tell me? Oh, YB, you know. Oh, AJ making his own decision. He knows what's best. He knows that Rob McCrappen's like a father figure to him. And I said, what? What do you mean a father figure? This is boxing. So you're talking about father figure. It's about who can get you to be the most proficient slaying machine. That's the bottom line here. Nothing about father figure don't come into the equation. What's wrong with you? It's weird, man. It really is weird. But it shows you the kind of minds who are involved in this game. It shows you why we are where we are. It shows you why AJ is getting worked by people half his size. And Eddie Hearn's now just trying to make the piece of shite look better. Oh well, no, Usyk's really good. That's a new shtick now. Well, Usyk's a pound for pound heavyweight great. That's a new shtick Eddie Hearn's wheeling out. Rather than saying, yeah, you know what, I've made a mistake here. AJ isn't smart enough to make his own decisions. So I'm gonna have to step in and you know what I'm saying? And get in the thick of this one. Because he's got a bunch of bums around him. Bottom line, that's what should have happened, I believe. Someone needed to father or to manage AJ. Because all I see around him is a bunch of sidemen. Not one person has actually ever managed AJ. He's managed himself, which is unfortunate. Because that's why we are where we are. AJ never should be losing to Mr. Blobby. He never should be losing to Mr. Middleweight. And that's a fact. So like I said, Eddie on all this try. He don't need a trainer. He doesn't, doesn't he? He need a trainer. I tell you, better in that, he need a manager as well. He need a manager and he need a trainer. And to be honest, of all the things AJ may not need, I don't think at this point he needs a promoter. Oops. Yeah? If there's anything he don't need right now, it's a promoter. He got plenty of that. He's got plenty of smoke being blown up his ass. He needs some substance. That's what he needs. So it's time to take Eddie. It's time to take your promoter hat off. Stop making quotes up, and start focusing on the quality of your product. Because that's the thing. A lot of these people forget, and that's what Customato was so great at. Customato realised that it's the quality of the product that sells. Once you got once you got an extremely potent product, yes, you can add promotion. So, for example, in Muktappa's prime, yes, his performances were great, but his voice exacerbated that. But still, look at the reason Muktappa's brand has tanked. His voice is the same as ever. But again, substance is what sells. You don't really need... Yes, the mouthpiece can be helpful, but you don't really need a whole bunch of mouthpiece when you've got a strong substance in product. But these days, it's all about the mouthpiece, it's all about the promotion, and look at this product, gone to shit. If you'd have focused on that, or if Eddie Hearn had focused on making a balance between making quotes up and gassing up about how vicious AJ is, and making sure the product's actually performing well, we wouldn't be where we are now. And even Eddie Hearn himself ended up backtracking. Oh, for years Eddie Hearn's party line was, well, AJ and Rob are like fathers. Yeah, he ain't going nowhere because he's like a father to him. And then in the last few months, Eddie Hearn flipped and said, well, AJ got to do what's best for him, and, you know, maybe it got a bit stale. Well, it's too little too late, Eddie. Too passive. Again, you were so gassed and caught up in your own little bubble, thinking you was invincible. You didn't stop to think for a moment. No, wait a minute. This isn't about father figure. This is about elite sport. And you're at best you're naive to believe that. Did you really think the sport of boxing cares whether AJ needs another father figure or not? That's arrogance. You're arrogant if you think that the sport's going to wait around for you to you know what I mean? The sport's going to wait around so that you can feel all nice and warm and bubbly because you've got two fathers in your life. The sport don't give a F about that. The sport cares about efficiency and effectiveness in doing your job. That's it. Oh no, YB, oh no, AJ, don't worry. Keep Rob around because at least you're going to have two fathers, even if you're going to get smoked in the ring. That's essentially what Eddie Hearn and most of the AJ fangirls were conceding for the last 5 years. Every time I heard, oh, it don't matter, but YB, he can't get rid of Rob. Rob's like a father. So, do you think Tyson Fury or all of AJ's competitors care whether he's a father or not? They care about, or they will care about, how effective AJ is at knocking heads off. And if AJ isn't getting more effective at knocking heads off, you can have all the father you want. And that's what's happened here. AJ and his team are focused way too much on things that are irrelevant. Focused way too much on protecting things that aren't adding value to the bottom line. Oh, we need to keep Rob around because he's a father. Okay. But okay. And at the same time, you're going to get your wig pushed back by Mr. Blobby. Those are the trade-offs you make. You can't have it all, unfortunately, people. These people today, they want it all. Oh, well, I want my father figure, and I want to be able to... No, don't worry about that. Your wig going back. And AJ wig went all the way back for him. Got sent flying back by Usyk. And by Mr. Blobby. And even today, we haven't moved nowhere. Still. You got Mr. Caveman making decisions for himself. Oh, well, I wanna... Yeah... That's what your man, Mr. Caveman, doing right now. He ain't making no smart decision. Like I told you before, if AJ's been managed properly, he'd have cut off all the dead wood. His whole team literally would have been nuked, in my opinion. And he'd have brought in Shane McGuigan. That's what should have happened. The only one, the only man, the only real leader I've heard speaking has been Shane. That's the truth. And people are mad, whatever. The only person I've actually heard who is on point is Shane. Everyone else has been beating around the bush. Oh yeah, I'd come into the camp and yeah, I'm happy to work with other people. What? No, that can't work. I've heard quite a few trainers, even some of the old time ones, say that. Well, yeah, I'm happy to come to the UK and I'm happy to fit in. No, you're just trying to chase a check. The only man I've heard say, listen, AJ, if you want me, that's fine, but it's going to be me only, and the rest of your bum team's gone. He's the only one. And that's why it had to have been Shane. And the fact that Okoli was there, it was all set. And I made it clear it was set. But no one wanted to listen. Instead, AJ's still out here trying to satisfy other needs. Yeah, if AJ needs another father so bad, I tell you what you need to do. Eddie Hearn should have booked him in. If having two father figures in AJ's life ranked so highly in AJ's hierarchy of needs, yeah? Eddie Hearn should have booked him in for counselling. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to need a whole bunch of father figures in your life. What's wrong with you? You're a big hard black man, 33 years old. What the F you need a whole bunch of fathers for? You've already got a dad. I wouldn't mind so much if he was like Mike Tyson and was an orphan. AJ, as far as sporting people go, AJ's got one of the most nuclear families going. I've never seen such a stable family before. But yet you're ranking having a second father over getting proper training in. It's wild. I'd have sat AJ down and said, listen AJ, if you're ranking McCrappen's ability to be a father figure to you over his ability to make you the best and greatest ever, I'm going to book you in for some counselling, some intensive counselling, and sort your head out. And that in itself, that shows you how weak AJ's mind is. AJ was more bothered about offending. Oh well, I don't want to offend my third father. I want to make sure my third father's okay. So, yeah, that shows you how weak his mind is. You've got to be totally ferocious in the ring and out. And again, guess where we are? Even today, even after losing a whole bunch, he still is in the habit of adding people. Do you know what? Do you know why people add people? People add people to the camp because they don't want to go through the emotional awkwardness or they don't want to push through and cut people off. It's easy to add, isn't it? Oh well, don't worry, John. I'll keep you on the payroll and I'll add someone else. Rather than being ruthless, rather than bringing the YB in and I'm telling them, listen, you're a bunch of bums. Yeah? The bunch of bums are gone. All Deadwood's gone. Rob, see you later. Fernando, see you later. Jobber, see you later. You're gone. Yeah? That's the free market for you. Welcome to capitalism. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'll be saying to them. 100%. And that's the thing. People like AJ love to talk about finances. Love to flaunt their capitalistic, what's the word? Bottom line, they like to flaunt their capitalistic victory. Oh, I've got watches, I've got cars, I've got whatever else is. But then the key principle of capitalism is success, is bottom line success and being competitive. If you're not being competitive and if you're not being successful, you ain't SHIT. So you can't have it both ways. You can't stunt showing all your winnings off, but then on the other hand, you're all moist and soft. AJ should be saying, listen, I'm big dog. I'm big capitalist dog. Yeah, I've got this shiny watch on my wrist. Rob, you're gone because you're a bum. Yeah, see you later. In the capitalist game, all that matters is the result. Nothing else. There ain't no feelings. You're either winning and you're outperforming and you're efficient and effective, or you're not. And you ain't right now. You're losing to a bunch of bums, AJ. So you should have said, let me not make a video about my goofy watch, and let me get rid of some of these deadweight bums around me. That's what you should have said. Oh, I can't, because he's my father figure, YB. Oh, get some counselling. That's what you need to do. Yeah? I bet I need a second father figure. No, the amount of people I heard saying that, you man need some counselling too, to be honest with you. Yeah? You need some counselling. I've never heard so many big hardback men need so many fathers. It's weird. Honestly, it's baffling. Never heard anything like it. Oh, he needs a YB. He's already got a father, but he needs another father. How many men, AJ? How many men do you need around you? You know, what's wrong with this guy? He's zesty, man. Yeah.